Alright guys, welcome to another live stream. Today is the 4th of June 2026. It is currently 9:25 Eastern Standard Time. We have about 5 minutes until market opens, so what we're going to do is jump straight into the charts. We're going to start by identifying our particular liquidity levels. So what we'll do here is start off with the S&P 500. I'm going to go ahead and mark out current day's high, current day's low. But before I do that, I want to put a vertical line on my new day open so that I know exactly what price range I am looking for. I'm looking at everything to the left of that specific chart, okay? Alright, so we've got the Nasdaq. Once again, going to put a vertical line on new day open. And like I said, we are looking at everything right for that. I want to mark out the highest point I can see within that price range. And that will be known as my buy side level in the form of current day high. For those of you who don't know, which is essentially current day's high, okay? Likewise, I'm going to mark out my current day low, which is going to provide us with the sell side. We're going to move over to the S&P 500 and do the exact same thing. I can see there's my current day high. I'm then going to go out, mark current day low. And for Dow Jones, same thing. Let's put a vertical line on new day opening price. Then we're going to go ahead and mark out our sell side liquidity, as well as the buy side. Cool. I'm going to go forward and actually just put a couple price alerts on those specific levels, just in the case that we aren't in front of the charts for whatever reason. I will be notified either on my phone, my laptop, you name it, but we're going to get notifications. We want to be informed when that specific level hits, and these are the price levels that we're monitoring now as soon as market opens. All right, ideally we do get a good price run towards them, which could essentially shape up for the very first entry within the session. But like we saw yesterday, price can obviously rally to these levels and we can still be left out without a specific trade setup happening. No, that's just the reality of the fact. These types of things happen, but we're going to stay patient above all and see exactly what happens. Yeah. So I'm going to put the S&P 500 in the middle of my chart that you guys can see here. Apologies, I will move the Dow over there. You guys should see me here on the top right. So then on the left of our screens, we will see the Nasdaq. If you look over here and see the symbol, Nasdaq, otherwise known as EQ. Then in the middle of our screens, we have the S&P 500, otherwise known as ES. And we have the Dow Jones Industrial Index, known as YM, okay? So let's see what price does. I'm currently looking at the 5-minute chart across all of my assets. This is just the time frame I'm most comfortable with and the one that I honestly trade the most out of all. Apologies, the OCD is kicking in, chaps. And that pretty much sets us up for today's session. Now, of course, looking at it straight away, we can see that there is somewhat of a cracking correlation. The Nasdaq on the left is a lot weaker than the S&P 500 is. And when comparing the S&P and the Nasdaq to the Dow Jones, we can see that the Dow Jones is very strong. We've had a fairly strong move towards the upside. It will probably be the first asset to take its buy side liquidity level. Now we are approximately 1 minute away from market open. So what we're going to do now is quickly shoot over to my Forex Factory, or my FX book, sorry. My Forex Factory is another website you guys can go ahead and use for fundamental news events. And if we look here, we have Thursday. We have already had initial jobless claims at 8:30 Eastern. Please ignore the 2:30 p.m. here. That's just my local time. If you minus that by 6 hours, we should be good. Does it? Ready? Damn, bro.
Ask if there's any.
For real, and Alright, like I said, we're going to go ahead and look at the fundamentals on my FX book. Now, we've had initial jobless claims come in at 8:30. Just ignore this 2:30 p.m. That's my local time. We minus 6 hours, and then we come to our Eastern Standard Time, which refers to New York. So we've seen a price alarm hit for the Dow Jones. We're going to quickly hop over to our charts. And over here we can already see, sorry, I will move that up because that would have been prior to 9:30. Now, we've already seen a raid in buy side for the Dow. So what I'm going to do is just plot out my buys for the specific pair. I'm no longer going to be looking to go long above the buy side. So I am bearish for the specific pair. We're just going to keep that in mind moving forward. We've seen buy side raid in form of current day high. Now let's see what we can find on the Nasdaq as well as the S&P 500. I once again want to remind you guys that the Nasdaq is on the left of your screen, the S&P 500 is in the middle, and the Dow Jones is on the right. I tend to always have my specific trade setups found on this way. It's just a lot easier for me to keep track. So we can see a rejection in that specific level, obviously super early in the session. We're approximately a minute and a half in, and we can already see a very volatile market. We've seen a raid in this specific level for the Dow. So what we're going to do now, just stay patient, just see how things go. Hopefully my microphone and camera are working a lot better. I do apologize, previous live streams has not been very well. I've made a couple tweaks in the streaming software itself. So once again, we're just going to test it out. If you guys could let me know how things are on your side, whether you guys are still picking up a bit of lag, and whether or not it's more so the webcam. It just essentially helps me to identify these specific bottlenecks, and thereafter I can go optimize them and just see if there's not a way around, because I do want to make this as insightful as humanly possible. And I mean, can't help you guys with trading if you can't hear me or see me. So Nasdaq currently pushing higher, so is the S&P 500. The Dow will be a bit different because it's obviously taken that buy side level, so I am expecting somewhat of a retracement. Now, we could 100% continue higher. I'm not too fussed with the Dow right now. I am more so curious as to what happens with the S&P 500 in the middle and the Nasdaq over here. Now, should we get to a point of entry where we see a market maker sell model or a market maker buy model, and we are looking to anticipate or participate, then I will shoot over here. You guys are going to get to see me calculate the lots in real time. If you look over here, it's XNES Real 20, meaning this is legit money. There you can see the account that we currently have, and this will be the tab that we look at when placing our orders. We're also going to be managing our trades on this specific screen. But what I'm not going to be doing is essentially projecting or getting my take profit on this specific broker. I only use this interim broker in order to place my specific trades, but I will be constantly sieving through the futures on TradingView. TradingView for me is just the best platform I can use in order to analyze these charts. So right now, the S&P is currently pushing higher. Nasdaq also currently pushing higher. We've seen a very nice rejection. It's clearly traded down. The Nasdaq's taken some minor buy side in over here, coming in at 825. We've not yet seen the same thing in the S&P 500. I'll make sure to mark that out quick. Okay, so there you guys can see we have already had our S&P. Now, I still want to see what happens. It does look like we're about to hit that buy side level on the S&P 500. And this is a perfect time for me to state my bias for the S&P. I'm currently neutral. I will only be looking to, well, as time goes on, we'll see what price action has to unveil. But for right now, I'm neutral on the Nasdaq. I'm neutral on the S&P 500, and I am bearish on the Dow Jones. We definitely do have SMT. I mean, if we just look at this high, basically at 3 o'clock, 3 a.m. this morning, we have the high of day. Likewise, we also have the high of day at 3 a.m. in the morning. So I'm already looking for means of SMT. What I do want to see is a common swing point get rated. Okay, so S&P's pushing up. We've just seen the S&P form its high of day. We've seen buy side now rated. Just gonna remain patient, see exactly what price wants to do at that specific level. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a common swing point for the S&P or the Nasdaq. That is something I definitely do want to see, and ideally we'll see that later on within the session. But if you just keep your eyes over here on the high, that specific figure over there. So if we look at the 3:30 candle as well as the 3:35 on the 5-minute chart, we can see that the high comes at 7.557.75, and that high on the very next candle is the exact same. So we have identical highs found at 3:30 and 3:35 on the S&P 500. Now, on the Nasdaq, we do have a swing point over there, but charts are clearly already traded towards that specific level. It's been rated. Apologies, they've not traded towards that level, but it's not a common swing point. I want to see a common swing point. I'm always trying to assess the market in forms of highs and lows, and common highs and lows. All right, so we're going to look at the chart from a bigger point, or in large screen. So the S&P just rated its buy side. Then if we look at the Nasdaq failed to take out that specific level. The Dow Jones is very different compared to the S&P as well as the Nasdaq. So if I'm looking at the Nasdaq, we could get a possible short setup towards that specific level. Now with the Nasdaq, I've made a bit of a mistake here. Oh no, I haven't. Okay, so we are bearish. We've not taken any specific liquidity levels, but on the S&P 500, we were neutral up until the point that we've now traded and hit buy side liquidity. So I am bearish on the S&P 500, right? I am also going to be bearish on the Dow. Therefore, if 2 or 3 of my assets have a bearish bias, then the third asset, I'm not going to be looking to go against the grain. I essentially want to follow what the other 2 are signaling to me, and both are bearish biases. Now, this does not mean that the market's going to follow my specific bias. All it means is that I'm only interested in taking shorts within the specific market or looking to sell. Now, a good way to remember this is a bear's claws come down and a bull's horns go up. So if I say I am bullish, it means that I am looking to buy up or go long. And if I have a bearish bias, then I am looking to go short or sell. Okay? Another word for buying is to go long, and another word for selling is to go short. Likewise, if you are bullish, you're looking to buy or go long. If you are bearish, looking to short or go or sell. Okay, so we are continuously pushing higher on the Dow. The S&P has just taken out its specific buy side level. We aren't, however, getting a significant push towards the downside as of yet. We might see that happen shortly. Okay, so we're gonna change over to our Three Musketeers, see the collective correlation between all three assets. And what I'm gonna do Right, so we are seeing a change in state of delivery here on the Nasdaq. The only reason I'm not looking to go short and target this specific order block towards the sell side level is because we've not seen a common raid in some form of swing point. Okay, well, we've not seen a raid of a common swing high, and those are usually the missing piece to a profitable setup for me specifically. Now, that does not mean I could 100% be wrong here, but I would not be looking to go short. And even if I was looking to go short, that specific trade is not going to offer the best risk to reward. Probably only give us a 1:1, which is not bad, not good. Well, I mean, if we can hit that consistently, it's very good. But for right now, just going to remain patient. If, however, we see a raid in that sell side, it does put me in a bit of a difficult spot because I cannot once again look to go long since I am bearish on these two pairs, and both of their upside levels have already been met, form of buy side liquidity with current day high as well as current day high here. Both have been rated. Now obviously the Nasdaq is not yet rated either current day high or low, so we're just going to remain patient, see if we can't perhaps get a trade setup happening shortly. Right, so note how we've gotten a change in state of delivery on the Nasdaq, but on the S&P 500 we have not yet seen that. Alright, if I zoom into my chart, I'm looking at the close of this specific body. You'll see here that the close, if we look here at the numbers perspective, from a numbers perspective, the close comes in at 7,548.25. Alright, and the low or the open on this specific candle comes in at 7,548.25. So 548.25, 548.25. So that's not closed below. That does not identify as a change in state of delivery for me. Even though we're seeing that on the Nas, we are not seeing that on the S&P 500. So once again, chaps, let's remain patient and see what it does later on in the session. But right now, we have seen the ideal raid in current day high. We've not yet seen that, or we've not yet seen the change in state of delivery on our S&P. So if we go to the 1 minute, see what happens here. Now, I'm not a very big fan of the 1 minute. Alright, so the Nasdaq still showing weakness here. The S&P 500 also showing weakness. The fact that we've not been able to see a close below this specific body just gives me a small indication that we might still want to see higher prices. Ideally, we do see higher prices, and a raid in this specific common swing point found at 935 on the Nasdaq, as well as 935 on the S&P 500. If we manage to get that, I would be looking to go short on either S&P or the Nas, completely dependent on what sort of price action we can see. Alright, and the Dow Jones. Now the Dow is obviously just doing its own thing. What we're going to do is move over back to our Three Musketeer chart. And this is essentially just going to give us a much better indication as to the correlation between these specific assets. So we can clearly see that, apologies, that is the Nasdaq. So here we have all three now. All right, we have the Dow Jones on the right, we have the S&P in the middle, and we have the Nasdaq here on the left-hand side. All right. Quite a good push up from the Dow Jones currently, as well as the S&P 500. And there you go, we've just closed that 5 minute candle. We can clearly see a rejection on the S&P 500. Now, the Dow is definitely showing strength compared to the other asset classes. However, for the Nasdaq, I'm also interested in the Nasdaq and the S&P for this specific trading session. And the reason I say that is because the Nasdaq is not yet taking any form of major sell side or buy side, whereas the S&P 500 has taken out its buy side level in form of current day high. Now with the Dow has taken out current day high. It does look like it might want to go for previous day's high. And what we'll do now is quickly jump over to the chart, and what we're going to do is essentially look at what specific weekly template we have, or weekly profile we have. Well, not so much the weekly profile, apologies. What we'll do is go onto a 15-minute chart and see how far we are from the previous day high, previous day low. So on the S&P 500, we're still very far away from previous day's high, which will come somewhere over here. Well, not somewhere, apologies, I'll mark that out. So what we are essentially doing is just looking from 6 p.m. onwards. We want to see what the high of that particular day was. And there we have buy side in form of previous day high. PDH stands for previous day high. Alright, and CDH is current day high. Okay, likewise CDL is current day low. We know that there are sell side resting below current day's low. Then for the Nasdaq, we will go ahead and mark out its previous day high. Alright, there you go. Now as an intraday trader, I am more so interested in today's trading. Okay, all the price action on the right of this specific vertical line. Then with the Dow Jones, I'm just doing this to mark out exactly where these specific levels are so that we have a much better indication. So I do believe that the Dow is currently at all-time highs, which is very, very, I don't want to say worrisome. It's completely dependent on how you've positioned your portfolio, to be honest with you. I mean, it could be bad, could be good. But for me, in my specific use case, I am not associated with the Dow outside of perspective. So I'm looking to get in, get out within today's trading session. And today's trading session is going to run from about 9:30 a.m. to approximately noon Eastern Standard Time, or 12 p.m. So we have about 2 hours, 8 minutes left of this particular session. Alright, so we've just seen a push above that swing point on the Nasdaq. What we're going to do is mark that out. We can clearly see that on the S&P 500 we've taken out this specific level, whereas on the Nasdaq we cannot take that out. That to me signals weakness on the Nas. Now let's see if we can't see a change in state of delivery on the S&P 500, and that would essentially get me to go short on the S&P or the Nasdaq. Now, unfortunately, my target would be sell side on the Nas. Whether we get that, I wouldn't know. But what I don't want to do right now is essentially give you guys an entire framework and then we don't end up getting that. So we're just going to stay patient. I'm going to sit on my hands and we're going to see exactly what we can get from price. But in the meantime, we can clearly see that Dow up further up, S&P currently looking very good, very strong, and the Nasdaq looks like it is going to try and catch up towards that specific buy side level. So we can remain patient once more, see exactly what the market has in store for us, and I'll let you guys know as we go. Cool. Alright, so if we turn our attention to the Nasdaq as well as the S&P 500, now on the Nas, it's pretty evident that it's not going to take that specific level, or it's not looking to take that specific level as we speak. Now, if we can close below here, then I would look to be going not short straight away, but that would qualify a change in state of delivery on the Nasdaq. First off, what we've seen here is essentially weakness within the marketplace compared to the S&P. So if I mark out that swing low, we can clearly see we've never been able to raid it, or what I'll rather do is mark it like this. Okay, and then see that on the S&P 500 we have clearly taken it out, not only with the wick, which essentially validates a liquidity sweep to me, but also the body. All right, there you can see that the body has closed above that specific swing low or swing high, and the candle on the Nasdaq is nowhere near. So we've seen S&T with the wicks themselves, and now we're also seeing S&T with the body themselves. All right, so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to start marking out my specific trade. Like I said, if we do look to go enter, we're going to be looking here. You get to see me calculate absolutely everything in real time. You get to see exactly how much money I'm looking to put on the table. So just stay patient. Quickly gonna go about, do my own thing here. So alright, now ideally we do not hit that level before we can get our entry, because that is ultimately my profit target. Alright, we are fairly close on the Nasdaq 100. So we've changed the set in delivery on the NAS. For me, we've seen S&T in the form of a wick as well as the body. Now we changed the set in delivery on the Nasdaq. All I need to do is couple that with another asset class that has taken that specific swing high, and the S&P, like we've marked here, has not only taken it with the wick, but if we look at the bodies is also closed above there. Okay, the only thing we're lacking now is a change in state of delivery. I would need the red candles close here before the Nasdaq went ahead and did that. So now that's a bit unfortunate, because I cannot go do anything on the Nasdaq at this very moment in time. I cannot go short, so I am essentially just neutral on the Nasdaq. I'm going to take that specific point away. That is very unfortunate. I was really hoping that we would see a change in delivery simultaneously between the Nasdaq as well as the S&P 500. That would have given me the perfect reason to want to go short and essentially target that sell side level. But like I said, we've not managed to get that. I'm still, however, bearish on the S&P, the Dow. Those are the two assets that I will be looking to participate in now that we have seen a raid in sell side. I'm no longer interested in the Nasdaq. It is unfortunate, guys. These things tend to happen, and there's really not too much we can do about it. So we're going to remain patient. I'm going to go ahead and clear these expectations. I'm gonna go ahead and move over here. I'm just busy playing around here, and I just made my first ever poll if I was bullish or bearish. Of course, no one's voted. Probably no one is watching, which is a bit unfortunate. But Talano, this one's for you once again. I've seen a lot of improvement. I mean, when we started on Monday, the webcam was terrible, the audio was terrible. I do think that there will still be somewhat problems in the audio. Still just gonna have to test around. I'm not sure if the music itself is maybe overpowering me here, or if I need to get a keyboard, mouse, maybe I'm tapping on the laptop too much, and it's essentially affecting the audio as well, could very much be. So yeah, just gonna have to test that one out. Now, what I am seeing is a tremendously good example of much better. Hey dude, you are an absolute champion. I truly love you, my man. Adian Brandt. Chaps, go like and subscribe his channel right now. Right? Make sure to include his name in your wishes, your praise. And if you got some aunties and sisters, hey. Kidding. Trying to keep it professional here. Sorry about that. Right, Eddie, I don't know if you're still watching, bro, but if you are, you'll see this is all in USD. Now this is a combined account between mine and yours. Alright, here's where we're going to be calculating the lots, and if you still don't believe that this is a live account, if you pay your attention over here, XNS is my interim broker. Alright, so that's essentially who I trust with our capital. And Real2 is essentially just a server that we go on, but if it were a demo account, it would say trial 20 or trial 17, whichever server you're trading on, bottom line, it'll say trial, and obviously live account states real. So these are indeed live funds, alright, and this is what we're going to be trading. This is pretty much the dashboard. So I don't know if Alan Gray essentially broadcasts their trading and their position. So you're in a very good spot, I'll say it like that. And like I said, I'm going to do my absolute best to get the best returns for you, for me, and by us combining our trading equity in one account, it's just a lot easier for me to control that. But also, it is 100% performance incentivized, so I have absolutely every single reason to do my best because my money is in the exact same account. All right. So with that in mind, I need more comments. I need more comments. Aiden, you still watching? What's happening, brother? China, you're the first person to vote on my live stream. You're the first person to invest. Technically, you're the second person to invest, but still, it's up there, single digits. Hard to replace those individuals. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. I see what you mean by that. Yeah, fair enough. You know, funny, when I was in Durban, I was actually with one of my mates, and he didn't go to Allen Gray, but he went to Standard Bank. Now, obviously, I'm not going to say how much money he put in and things like that, but bottom line, he went through the exact same procedure. He's also in your industry, so I feel like that's what do. Now, with these live streams, all I'm doing is essentially offering the chaps in your industry a brand new option. Now, completely dependent on whether or not I'm profitable on these live streams will determine whether or not there will be more investors. But like I said, still not too clued up on the legal aspect of things when it comes to essentially having a public fund. In my understanding, it's illegal. So that's why I gave you feedback. We've made it a private investment arrangement. Private investment arrangements are completely legal. I have spoken to a tax attorney as well as an accountant, and they have informed me that we have the green light, all right? So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just all up to me now to try and do my absolute best with this money, and that's what I'm going to do, all right? So I really love you. I really appreciate your support. Your comments mean the world to me, especially that which you told me yesterday. And now time will tell what we can do for these 3 months. But of course, everything is going to be documented here live. There's no way of me BSing you, nor what I want to. So let's get it. And Aiden, could you maybe help me out? If you are still watching, don't know if you are. But the music in the background that I'm playing as I'm speaking, is it somehow overpowering me on the audio standpoint, or are we looking good on that? I can just adjust that on the live streaming software. The better we do, the more we invest. China, we're not even going to need to do that, because there's this brilliant thing in life known as compound interest, and that's essentially what's going to get us to some very, 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 very prominent figures. But like I said, could you maybe just answer me with regarding to the audio? How's the audio? Is there background music? Do you like the background music? Is it calming, soothing? Does it fit the trading? Well, what you're seeing now. Obviously, we can't be listening to like techno and trance and banging our heads against the bloody wall. Well, technically we can do whatever we want, mate, but it's not very professional. It's not something I want to do on these live streams. So let me know how the audio is. Is the audio a bit cracked? I do think my camera is a lot better. Like I said, I made a couple of changes. I think I was just trying to pull too much data from the internet. So yeah, we just made a couple of changes with the quality of streaming, as well as how much data we'd be pumping through every single time. Yeah, 100%. Alright, so you said 5% less on music. Alright, we can do that. How's that? It's on negative 35 hertz, I think is the measurement they use for music. And then what I can do, I can push my microphone all the way up. I've just got it set to negative 5 hertz as well, just in case there's something that happens here. There's this bloody fly which doesn't leave me alone. He's trying to get free marketing. Yeah, you are spot on. Decibels. Alright, decibels it is, mate. Thank you so much. You've taught me something. So with the media, I've set it to negative 35 decibels, and then with my specific audio that I'm using or microphone, it's negative 5 decibels. And the reason I've done that is just to see, because sometimes the laptop makes, the fan of the laptop will make sounds and whatnot. I could set it all the way up. So let me know what the audio is sounding like now. Is it good? We can maybe test it out if you don't mind. You can just let me know. And don't worry, I am still keeping an eye on the screen, as always. So this round here would have been an absolutely brilliant way to go long. The only unfortunate thing is that we've taken out sell side on our other indices. We've taken our buy side on our other indices, and we've taken our buy side on 2 of 3. So essentially majority has ruled that out. Now, because I'm trading 3, I always want to pay myself with majority against the minority. Sometimes all 3 will come into play. We do have significant impulse moves towards the upside, and impulse moves essentially just refer to very strong moves that don't take long in order for price to hit its designated target or drawn liquidity, which will always come in the form of buy side or sell side. So you'll see exactly what I mean. If we look here, we've seen a sweep past that specific level, whereas on the S&P we failed to do that. So that's a cracking correlation in itself. Nasdaq is clearly taking liquidity resting here in form of minor buy side, minor sell side, as well as sell side in form of current day low. Also, the reason I've jotted that down is you can clearly see that the candles have closed below, whereas on the S&P 500, candles have failed to close below. We have, however, seen a change in state of delivery towards the upside. So had any of our other 2 indices not taken out its buy side, I would be looking to long this specific order block over here. But as stated, we have seen a random buy side on the S&P found in the middle, as well as the Dow Jones found on the right. So for that particular reason, I am not going to be looking for any specific trades. If anything, we will be looking to short the marketplace. All right, so I've made sure to add my bias here. I'm always going to try and keep these on display for anyone who is a bit unsure as to what is going through my mind. So once again, just want to remind you guys, I am bearish on the Dow Jones Industrial Index on the right. Then in the middle of your screens, you'll see the S&P 500, and I am also bearish. And on the left side, the Nasdaq 100, I am neutral. The reason I'm not also bearish on this pair is because we have traded to sell side liquidity, and that was my profit objective for shorts or sells. Okay. All right, Adrian, you're up. What'd you say, brother? What it is now is 110% perfect. I really enjoy what you've done. Dude, I love you. Truly, mate. You are PR trained to the maximum, China. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, but they have now. I'm a late. I was stressing yesterday because Monday's live stream was horrific. When I talk about the live stream, I mean the actual live stream, like the audio, webcam, and pretty much just the display quality and how I'd set everything out. First time doing it, brand new to it, so yeah, was terrible. Tuesday, a little bit better from a display perspective, but still the webcam and the audio were giving me issues. And then on Wednesday, yesterday, I felt like I had done everything fairly well, but what I just didn't take into consideration was essentially the amount of data I was trying to stream. I was also using, I think, 60 frames per second. Now, my laptop, the Wi-Fi, it can all handle those specific optics, but it was just the amount of tabs I would have open, as well as the quality of video I was trying to go through. It wasn't one specific thing that was on there. It was pretty much just a culmination of, I think, 3 or 4 things, but thanks to AI, it literally ran through my entire laptop, told me exactly what was wrong, what it thought I should change. I made those specific changes, and well, Adian Brandt has just said it's 110% brilliant. So looks like we're going viral, boys and girls. Finally, I'm elated to be doing this. I've been wanting to do this for such a long time. So without getting too excited, we're going to jump back into the charts. We can see a push up on the S&P 500, now on the Dow Jones, also seeing a slight push up towards that specific minor buy side level. Now, unfortunately, with that buy side level, it is not a common swing point. Otherwise, I would have been looking for, once again, a cracking correlation between two assets, followed by a change in state of delivery across two assets. And likewise, I would need to see both those two assets, or at least another one of them, being the third one, have a sell side level intact. All right. The only reason I am bearish is because we have not taken sell side. Likewise, the only reason I am bearish is because we have not taken sell side. We have taken buy side, meaning I cannot go long. All right. Now we've taken buy side on the S&P 500. We've taken buy side on the Dow Jones Industrial Index. However, we have failed to take our buy side on our Nasdaq found on the left. So once again, even though the Nasdaq, I technically do still have a buy side objective or a buying objective, the other two have taken it out. So I'm essentially betting on the majority, and just from a probabilities perspective, I'd rather not do that, especially now that I am essentially taking on a little bit more capital from other individuals who I hold very dear to my heart. The last thing I want to do is take positions prematurely or essentially gamble on something that does not work. I have a specific plan in place that I've back tested, and that gives me a much higher sense of conviction to take those specific trades and add a little bit more size. So we're rather going to sit on our hands. We're going to wait for those setups to pan out. But boys and girls, ladies, gentlemen, creatures, right now, sit on our hands, stay patient. That is the name of the game. And success in this industry is ultimately just going to come down to how much willpower you have, especially when things aren't exactly happening like now. I need to make a note of something here. That's a bit unfortunate. No, so it's my fourth stream. Okay, so Eddie said your third stream, this is incredible. Keep going. How much you generate traffic to your channel. Quality videos will naturally generate traffic, and likewise good positions for take good trades. People see that, hopefully more will swing my way, but I'm fairly certain of that. And then Adian said have 33% invested on each of these Nasdaq Dow. Yeah, so technically you don't have any invested, you've got a trading account. All right, think of it as a wallet, and then me as the trader is essentially going to allocate specific funds to specific assets at key times. So right now, if I move over to our pretty much our portfolio, if you want to call it that, this is our portfolio. All right, now this is a shared portfolio. It's mine, it's yours. And if we essentially look here, we have no open positions right now. So we have our balance of 2.6k USD. Then we have equity of 2.6k USD. Bottom line, if we were in a position, then our equity would be fluctuating. If we were in profit, the equity would be showing our current floating profit or floating loss, and it would automatically calculate that. So if we were in a position right now and we were up, say, $100, then that 2.6k USD would be sitting on 2.7k USD, or whatever the floating profit or loss is. Likewise, there would be a small number over here that would constantly be fluctuating. You're either in floating profit or floating loss. Now, once again, Adian, I'd like to remind you, you might see these numbers, you might freak out, you might think that there's a lot of size on these trades, but everything I do is back tested. I'm extremely disciplined in that regard. I've done my due diligence. You've taken the time to trust me with what I do. And like I said, the reason I've added our equity into one mutual account is so that I am 100% performance incentive, or I have a performance incentive to do my absolute best. All right, so please don't panic. If you watch these live streams and you see that I am risking a certain amount where it kind of makes your bum, don't worry, it's all under control. Like I said, I'm very patient. I'm very precise with what I want to see in the marketplace. Okay, been doing this for about now. Once again, that does not mean that I am a professional in what I do. Losses will occur, but likewise, I will do everything I can in order to learn from my mistakes. I'll do my due diligence where I can. I will carry on back testing, which is exactly why I might love and leave you guys for just about a couple of seconds. Quickly go get a notepad, pen. There was something that pointed that I wanted to quickly look at, or at least after the session. I won't do it now. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to show you this. And the reason I've got the calculator over here is so that I can show the audience exactly how much I'm willing to risk. I show them exactly how I calculate my specific lot size or volume, which is essentially just the bet, quote unquote. Don't really like that term because that's one associated with gambling. This is not gambling, all right? This is strategic equity management at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. So why don't you like, subscribe, comment down below what you think, what you'd like for me to improve. But so far, so good. We have some brilliant engagement from Adian, of which I appreciate you so much. Is all you. I know how the market fluctuates. All good. Thank you. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Now, one more thing. If I take a loss, that's 100% me. I am never going to sit here. I'm never going to blame the marketplace. I love the marketplace. All right. If I didn't, I would not be part of this industry. Fortunately, I am. And any losses that occur are 100% I am responsible for. Now, obviously, we don't want that to happen. So we're going to do absolutely everything in our power, like I've said numerous times now, to make sure we do not make that happen. And of course, like I said, this is now a mutual account that we share. If you're uncomfortable with me displaying the equity in the account, just let me know. I can create a separate account. I'll try and copy trades off onto that account. But just for right now, I don't think we do that. I think it's all good if we stick to what it is here. It just makes the trade management itself a lot easier if I only have to essentially manage or protect a position on one specific account. I'm not focusing on two accounts, but like I said, you're an investor, all right? When you came to me with the opportunity, I wanted to make very well sure that you understood the risk, which is why I created all those risk portfolios for you once again to make a decision. And instead of you sending over the amount that you wanted to, once again told you, let's only focus on what we are willing to risk, all right? Now, the reason I do that is because when I sit here, there is 100% chance of me losing a position as soon as I take it. It's up to me to gather specific data from the market in real time, and that I'm essentially working backwards. What I mean by that is, if I sit here, I'm 100% to lose, okay? But as I gather more and more information from a technical standpoint, fundamental standpoint, then I essentially mitigate the chances of my loss. And every single data point that I can collect, just a less loss rate, okay? And automatically, if I mitigate my percentage of loss, I maximize my percentage of a win. Likewise, we have specific rules put in place. As soon as a position is taken, I will only act at specific price points, and there are specific actions that I will take at those price points. So everything I do has a rhyme, has a reason. Nothing is random, okay? I believe that's pretty much the difference between someone who's profitable and non-profitable. Non-profitable people are gonna go and blame all sorts of bullshit. Sorry, I swear, family channel, peace and prayer. But yeah, nothing is going to be random. Absolutely everything is going to be predefined by me live in front of anyone who wants to watch. And for those people who want to watch and want to take the same positions as me, highly recommend it. Likewise, I'm not the Lord. Can't make guarantees here, alright? I'm going to do my absolute best, but unfortunately, I can't make guarantees, alright? So, with that in mind, you've put your trust in me, and I'm going to do it. We all in here. We are all in here, brother. Brothers, sisters, loved ones, aunties, uncles. We're all in. Love to see it. Love to hear it. Nice, exactly. 100%. Chaps, let's listen to Adrian here. He says he wouldn't risk money he's not willing to lose. That right there is a sign of a informed investor, not an uninformed investor. Uninformed investors just don't really understand risk. To them, the more money you put on the table, the more you're going to make, which is not always the case. Okay, cool. Understands the risk, understands the concept of it as well. That's brilliant. Edian, what an absolute treat. It makes such a big difference when someone is actually with you, engaging with you, and commenting down below. Hopefully in the future we'll get a bit more people to participate in these specific chats, and yeah, it's just going to make the live stream that much quicker, because essentially if I'm here, I said that wrong. It doesn't make it quicker. It just makes it a bit more exciting for me as well. I understand trading is boring. Yeah, like I said, 2.5 hours for anyone, whether you like something, whether you don't like something, does feel like somewhat of a quote unquote shift. Probably not the best terminology I could use for it, but it's better when you have someone to chat with for 2.5 hours than what it is you sitting here narrating the entire scenario of a industry which technically takes time. I mean, if we look at our screens right now, that's as fun as it's going to get. Obviously, when we're on a position, it will be a bit more interesting. But for times like now, where we are sitting on our hands, waiting to see what price unfolds, these are the boring times. And this is what I mean by the 2.5 hour session feeling somewhat boring or similar to it being a shift. But Adrian, hey man, the amount of times I say I love you, you're probably going to start making those types of jokes with me. I need to be careful with what terms I use. I understand some people on the internet are fairly touched when you put them in a certain category, but you know what, guys, it's my live stream and I'm not gay, so I don't appreciate when people be making them homeless terms. But each to their own, who am I to say you're wrong, who am I to say you're right? Just doing my thing. Alright, so if I'm looking here, my attention is once again on the S&P found in the middle of your chart. I'm also looking at the Dow Jones found on the right of your chart. Now, we are looking for a common swing point in form of common swing high or common swing low. In our case, because we are bearish on 2 of 3 being our majority, we are only looking for swing highs, okay? Just common swing highs. Now, a swing high is a candle formation, okay? So 1020, 1030, 1020, 1025, and 1030 is our swing point on the S&P 500, okay? So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to mark that specific swing high out. You see, I'm OCD. Damn. Perhaps one day it will leave me, but for now, I kind of enjoy it. Okay, so we have a common swing high. What I'm going to do there is just copy and paste it over here to the Dow. That way we don't have to go and manually type stuff again. Alright, so that is the common swing high which I am looking to take. Now, once again, a swing high is a 3-candle formation, okay? So the actual candle which forms a swing high on the S&P 500 is at 925. Now, we don't need to see that exact same 925 forming swing, but like I said, it's a 3-candle pattern, and in our case, we are looking at the 5-minute chart. So we can see that 1020 is the actual swing high itself on the Dow. Now, 1020 forms part of that 3-candle pattern on the S&P 500. So those are the common two, or that is the common swing point I am referring to. Once again, on the Nasdaq, the exact same thing, which is a good sign. Once again, ideally I would get my trade setup happen on the two pairs that I'm targeting, which is the S&P as well as the Dow. But before we do that, I just want to get your attention over here to the H, which stands for the high of the candle, and words are opinions, numbers are facts. Okay, so regardless whether or not our eyes think that is a swing high, we need to get confirmation with the numbers. Okay, so this candle's high comes in at 348.50, and this one comes in at 348.25. So we have confirmation that that indeed is a swing high. So we are going to also mark that over here. Please just go to that zone, otherwise OCD is gonna have the best of me. There you go. Oh my days. Or whatever. Alright, I know what I'm looking at. I know what to expect. That's the most important part. Okay. So I'm always going to try and keep these charts as clean as humanly possible. I'm going to put my bias in places that are common with the other one because I'm OCD, of course, but it just makes it a little bit more clear for everyone else watching. And whether you're brand new to the channel, whether you're not, I'm going to do my absolute best to give you guys good technical analysis. Not only good, but great technical analysis. So I once again remind you guys of the different types of analysis. We have technical analysis, which essentially refers to the candlesticks or the candlestick charts. And these candlestick charts are printing out data and essentially telling us the relationship of price action between three specific assets, being our Nasdaq, our S&P 500, as well as the Dow Jones Industrial Index. All right. Now, there are three different types of analysis. We have technical analysis, which is price action. We have fundamental analysis, which just refers to economic news, where we look at the economic calendar and we see exactly what news events are coming in. So Thursday, the 4th of June, we have had high impact economic news events. I know it's high impact because it states over here. And just think about news events as the perfect excuse for the markets to want to pump liquidity or volatility into the marketplace. All right, the market can't inject liquidity, it can only take liquidity, and liquidity is my money and your money. The name of the game is rat eat rat, dog eat dog. It is who owes whom. Okay, so a buyer cannot win. A buyer and a seller cannot win at the same time. If a buyer is winning, a seller is losing. If a seller is winning, a buyer is losing. All right, so it's like I said, it's who owes whom, who is winning, who is losing, and it's a constant relationship between the two. All right, sometimes buyers are winning. So for example here, buyers are winning, right? Then if we look earlier in the morning, sellers were winning. Okay, so if these sellers were winning, the previous buyers would have been getting blown out of the water. Likewise, anyone who is still selling here is currently losing. Okay, just think about it like that. We can't have two bulls in a pen. All right, there must be one who is on top. And for us, we want to see the bears on top, or people who are looking to short or sell. Okay, once again, if I say short, I'm referring to selling. If I am long, I am referring to buying. And bias is just I don't know how to explain bias. I mean, you know, you don't know. But bias is what I'm looking, is my perspective, or my perspective on the marketplace. That's a good way of putting it. Then I just want to take our attention once again to the fundamental news. I look at the news on my Forex book or my FX book. And earlier today at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, now this is local time, just ignore that, minus it by 6 to get New York time, because South Africa is 6 hours in front of New York. So at 8:30 we had high economic news, or high impact news event come out in the form of jobless claims. Now, where these jobless claims or the news event itself is not as important to me as the timing as well as the impact. Okay, I'm always looking at high impact news events. So if we look at Friday the 5th, which will be tomorrow, we once again will have high impact news event coming in at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Okay, now this particular high impact news event is non-farmer payroll. Non-farmer payroll is essentially the unemployment rate in America at that specific point in time. And also note that I am only considering USD. I'm only worried about the US news events, okay? And the reason I do that is because I'm trading the Nasdaq, which is the top 100 US tech stocks, okay? The S&P 500 is the top 500 performing stocks, US stocks, and the Dow Jones Industrial Index refers to the top 30. Even though it doesn't show here 30, there you can see the icon is 30. It's the top 30 performing stocks or companies in the US at that particular point in time. All right. Now note how absolutely every single one of them was US stocks. Likewise, I'm only looking at US news events. Okay. Now, non-farmer payroll happens about once a month. It's usually the first Friday of every single month. And like I said, it is the unemployment rate. If I went a step further and clicked on that specific news event, it would tell me a bit more about that news, as well as the details, the latest release and the next release. Sometimes they do give you estimations on whether they think it'll be good, whether they think it'll be bad. They actually state it right here. So the previous news release was 180k. It was actually 186. You'll see there if we hover. I think, like I said, I'm not too concerned with the news releases themselves. It's just a very good excuse for them to essentially pump volatility within the marketplace. And also another reason as to why I am not too concerned with the news, I only trade from 9:30 onwards. So if we look left here, 8:30 is that candle. That 5-minute candle right there was a high, that candle right there was a high economic news event. Just look down here. You'll see here as my mouse goes, it'll say Thursday the 4th, June 2026, 7:40 a.m. All right. Then there you'll see June 4th, 2026, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll see it was a very lackluster candle. But once again, I am only looking to trade from 9:30 onwards. And the reason I'm looking to trade from 9:30 onwards is 9:30 is the open of the stock market as well as the bond market, all right? And the bond market, stock market, remember what I said, the S&P, top 500 stocks, Dow Jones, top 30 stocks, Nasdaq, top 100 tech stocks, okay? Bottom line, they're all US and they're all stocks. So if we are looking to trade a stock industry future, we want to make sure that we participate when the stock market opens, all right? From 9:30 to about noon, which is why in the live stream at the very top of your screen, you'll see that I am streaming weekdays from 9:30 to about 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that is when the most volatility is found within the market. That's where we'll see our biggest price moves. Not all the time, but usually we will see our biggest price moves during those specific sessions. So as we are looking at the charts now, we are seeing that the S&P is rallying for its common swing high. The Dow Jones failing to do so. The Nasdaq is also wanting to do it. We'll see if we can't spot a cracking correlation between the three, where one of them rates that common swing point. We also want to see it then, we'll see a liquidity sweep in form of the wick. Now, the wick is essentially this part over here. Don't really know how else to describe it other than a wick, but the body is what we see here, okay? The body refers to the color of that candle. You can see that from here all the way to here, that is essentially the body, and the wick is what price did at that specific time, but what the volume of the candle could not back up, okay? So we want to see a liquidity sweep where the wick trades above that swing high. Then we want to see a liquidity raid where the body also closes above that specific high, all right? So that is the high. Like I said previously, we do not really want to get in the habit of predicting the market. We are much better safe. We're much safer off just reacting off of specific levels. Now, I've marked out that specific level in form of the current swing high on the Dow, the S&P, as well as the Nasdaq. All right. We are seeing a new common swing high forming here on the S&P as well as the Dow. Nasdaq's also doing it. What I don't like about the Nasdaq is that we do not have the exact same candle. So note how on the S&P at approximately 1040 we had a bullish close. Okay, bullish once again refers to up. Okay, a bull's horns go up, bear's claws come down. So a bullish close, green. All right, we had a green candle at 1040 on the S&P. And if you just have a look on the right without me moving my cursor, you'll see there is a bullish close on the Dow Jones as well. It's another green candle. Now that's perfect. That means that the market is somewhat in symmetry. It is moving in tandem with one another, and that's good news for us. All right, so we're just going to stay patient. We're going to see what the rest of the session unfolds and has in store for us. And I'm going to take this time to quickly look at the comment section down below. Alright, Adian, you're done. You've probably left me, so you won't be hearing this. But if you do, you're in my prayers, brother. I love you, Span. You're a king. Alright. It's time for somebody else to react. Somebody else to comment. It's just been Adian. What a G. What's a G? There you go. Should be way better now. Alright guys, if you'd be so kind as to excuse me, quickly gonna run to the bathroom. Be back in about, I'd say, give me 5 minutes. Cool. very good signs. Okay, so as we sit here now, Nasdaq has just taken out that common swing point. Fingers crossed we can get our setup in today's session. That would be phenomenal. Looking back, Monday's price action was spectacular. Honestly, what a treat. Technically, all of the price action has been, all of the days of this week have had good price action, but particular Monday. Alright, now in order for me to go short here, I need to see a immediate rejection of that high. We've clearly just taken out the body, which is a raid in this specific common swing point that I've highlighted. We do not want to see the same on the Dow. We also don't want to see its wick trade above that specific level. Otherwise, it immediately invalidates this specific setup. We're just going to have to sit on our hands again and wait for the next possible scenario. But well, we're at 11, so we have about 1 hour remaining on the session. We'll see exactly what happens. It does look like the Dow has indeed just taken out that common swing point, so I'm not going to be looking at this anymore. It's a bit unfortunate. Like I said, just want to remain patient, all right? No, I was just saying to myself, well, the Holy Spirit was telling me that this scenario over here was so perfect. Honestly, just pretty unfortunate in that we have not been able to see that on. Unfortunate in that we had already seen our buy side raid on the S&P 500. As well as the Dow, which immediately to me just invalidated any reason to want to go long. I don't want to long the market or keep buying after we've taken buy side on 2 of 3 of our pairs. Now with the Nasdaq, it was set up brilliantly to want to go towards that specific level. After it had raided its buy side, we saw an immediate rejection, an immediate change of state of delivery. There was also SMT as this common swing point or common swing low at 945 was not violated on the S&P 500. So if we take a look at our S&P, we note that price was nowhere near it. It could not even take out the low in form of body. It was an absolutely brilliant setup. Now, the only reason I could not have taken that long was because we've already taken out our buy side level, and that essentially acts as my draw on liquidity. So unfortunately, we no longer have a draw on liquidity for upside potential. I'd only be looking to take shorts. What I'm going to do here is just go to a bigger screen. See, the Nasdaq is still so far away from its buy side. Just unfortunate that we got that price action on the S&P 500. It would have been an absolutely brilliant trade to take, but like I said, don't really want to rush into things, take premature positions that could put us in a loss at a later stage. So we're going to sit on our hands, see what happens for the rest of the session. Hopefully, fingers crossed, someone's watching. Come on, give me some good news. Surely. We have one person watching. I don't know if that's me. Well, there's only one person watching, so there's only one of you, yeah? Comment who you are, where you're watching from, what you like, what you don't like, what you want me to discuss, if you want me to discuss anything. Otherwise, I could just put the volume up on the music. We could sit back, just relax, let the rest of the session unfold. I'd be curious as to know who you are. I don't know, I'm trying to figure this out now. One person watching, you're not commenting. So if I watch this particular stream, am I that one person? I don't know, because I haven't clicked on it. See, there's a bit of delay. It's a bit sad, isn't it? You know, you're busy watching your own live stream. Come now. Is this what life's come down to? Looks like it. But we wouldn't swap it for the world. I know. Hey, bro, what a don. I knew it was a good-o. What a G. I knew it was a good-o, I just didn't think it was the best O. For those of you who don't know, that's Adrian Brandt, ladies and gentlemen. Now I won't lose hope. If I could just ask you one thing, please don't call me buddy. I say the same thing to all my mates. Don't like buddy. Buddy's what you call some latte you're never going to see again. Anyways, you can call me whatever you want, mate. If you watch the channel, you can do whatever you want, truly. What's a treat? But don't worry. Man's not going to lose hope at all. At all. Choma, I can settle for Choma. Choma I like. Choma, Chomi, Alti, lightweight, Boosh. But just not buddy. Literally just not buddy. It's the one thing that just, you know, don't really do it for me. if you guys can see this because of the cam. No, just. Okay. Okay, so Adrian, if you're watching, here you can see the exchange rates. Right, we're obviously South African, so we've got our ZAR. Swiss franc, because it's the least degrading currency pair. Obviously, all of these fiat currencies are heading down, just with inflation and things like that. Just decreases the rarity of a specific pair. Then we have the pound, we have the euro, and we have the US dollar. Now, the unfortunate thing is if the US dollar dips, then all of our currencies are going to dip, or all of these fiat currencies are going to dip. Then with the crypto, I'm not involved with crypto. You can let me know if you are. That'd be cool. But minerals are something you want to get into. Minerals is something everyone wants to get into, and this is just raw materials in the world, or in the earth, I'll say. Crude oil, the amount of derivatives that come from crude oil, petrol, diesel, natural gas, tarmac. Those are just to name a few. I think there's about 7 different derivatives just from one raw material. So anyone who's dealing with oil has enormous wealth, whether they know it or not. Silver, in my opinion, very, very undervalued, because we have silver in our laptops, our phones, our cameras. Pretty much every single utility you have at home and are looking at has a little bit of silver in. So, and also now with these data centers that are popping up and the advancements in AI and how dependent AI is going to be on these data centers, they are going to be using a lot more silver. I do predict silver to increase its value astronomically. Then gold, never really understood why gold is so valuable. I understand that there is only a specific amount of gold in the world, so it automatically has a rare value or value associated with it due to how much of it there is. But other than gold looking shiny and cool, I really just don't understand why it's valuable. It's not like we have a lot of gold in our appliances. We probably have a small portion of it, but like I said, I've just never really understood gold, other than it is a excellent vehicle for long-term capital, or just capital in general. Instead of holding it in the form of dollars, rands, pounds, euros, you name it, gold is the man. Gold is the guy to beat. Yeah. Okay, so let me pull it up again. So Adian asked if all of... Oh no, apologies. Here you go. So Adian was asked if all of these exchange rates are against the ZAR. So there you'll see it's the quote currency that we are looking at. So in this case, it'll be the US dollar against the South African rand. You'll see there that one US dollar is approximately 16.27 ZAR, or South African rand. Likewise, 1 euro is equivalent to 18.92 South African rand. Then 1 pound is equivalent to 21.87 US or rands, sorry. And then 1 Swiss franc is equivalent to 20.6 South African rands. And as you can see, this is all live data. It's constantly fluctuating up and down. Here you can see the change in today. So as you can see, all of these fiat currencies are dropping in strength compared to the rand. For some reason, the rand is doing well, which is not bad, not good exactly. And the reason I say it's not good, if you're earning foreign currency, you're essentially backing on the rand to lose some of its purchasing power. That way, you're essentially getting a pay raise every single day, or obviously with the exchange rate. And then this is just the actual valuation change. So it's 16.7, it's gone down 0.07, which equates to being 0.48%. Okay. Is there anything else I can touch on? Yeah, so I just went through that exchange rate. I can pop it on the screen, or I'll just keep it up there, then you can see it the whole time. So there you go. And then semiconductors for AI. Made a truck full of money on SKYT, not sure who that is, but yeah, that's awesome. Love to hear it. That's a very, very, very good investment, truly. Semiconductors, 100%. I mean, anything that revolves having these raw materials, I believe is going to be a very good investment for the time to come. Or anything which, well, we just work backwards. If we look at it from a macro perspective, we can already tell that AI is taking over. AI is going to play a prominent role in world finances in the days to come. Now, what does AI need in order to function? And that will be silver, that will be data centers. And what do these data centers need? Is a lot of power, a lot of electricity, and the closer and closer you can get to the actual raw material itself, that's where the major currency, or the major, not currency, but the major value is going to lie. So anyone who is essentially providing power, I believe is going to make a boatload of money as soon as all of these data centers are up and running. Now, obviously not, we're in the beginning stages of this AI revolution. The things that we are seeing now is nowhere near what they are predicted to become in the coming years. And just the state at which things are progressing is remarkable. I mean, not so long ago, there wasn't even AI. And now we are living in a stage where I don't even think there is something that doesn't use AI in today's world. Companies are doing it left, right, center. That's why we keep getting these reports of massive layoffs. And funny enough, as soon as that layoff occurs, the company automatically, well, not automatically, but just as a derivative of that layoff, the company does a lot better. There are a lot of jobs that aren't so reliant on human beings anymore, which is why it's imperative to try and position yourself in an industry where you either leverage AI, because AI itself is not going to replace your job. The person who is using AI is going to replace you. So AI is, once again, a tool, cannot replace a human being. It is just essentially another human being who is leveraging the skill set of AI, can take it over. I mean, if you use ChatGPT, you're essentially a certified copywriter. Anything copy related can bang out immediately. Likewise, it's very good at creating certain proposals, contracts, and that's one of the things that I use in order to draft a proposal on the contract with you, Adrian. I'd be silly not to use AI with the speed at which to perform a specific task. It's astronomical. Love it. Alright, we're going to take away these quotes just to get a full screen what's going on with the charts. Now, probably should have listened to Adrian as soon as he said bullish, because as we can see, market has just continuously rallied up. It's a bit unfortunate in that we were looking to sell the market. Now, we're not always going to be right with our bias, but once again, a bias is not my prediction of what the market is going to do. A bias is just essentially what I am looking for at the market. So I'm only looking to sell this market. It does not make sense for me to chase price once it's gone beyond current day high. I don't want to position myself as a breakout trader, but rather a contrarian trader. I want to go against the grain. I understand that at the moment, buyers are winning, all right? So I would essentially want to take out all of these buyers. I want to position myself in a way where I'm going against these buyers and I am essentially targeting their stops, their liquidity, all right? Now, we need to see some form of intraday tracking correlation followed by a change in state of delivery on majority of our pairs. Once we can get that, we will shift over to this specific screen where we'll be able to calculate our lots and ultimately manage our specific position. But until then, we're going to stay on our hands. We're going to stay glued to our three musketeers here where we can see price action on all three pairs and stay patient, see what the rest of the session unfolds. We are at 9:07 or 11:17, so we have roughly, I'd say, 42 minutes left of the trading session. So there is quite a bit that needs to happen. It's not impossible for it to happen. It's just as the session, or in the later parts of the session, we just drop in probability and that we might not get our specific market maker sell model today. But there's always tomorrow. Monday was a good day. Fortunately, no trades on Tuesday, Wednesday, and right now we have not yet taken a trade. So once again, we want to remain patient. We do not want to chase price. We do not want to act impromptly. We do not want to make costly mistakes. All right, patience is the name of the game. It's not exciting, but it is what it is, and that's what we need to do in order to be profitable. That is the goal. So stay tuned. Alright, so we're going to mark out our common swing point, see if we can't maybe see a raid and possible reversal on that specific swing high. First, let's wait for these 40 seconds to close and see if we actually do get that swing high. Alright, completely dependent on how we close in this next 5 minutes. I want to see that common swing point, or like I said, dependent on how we close, we will see a common swing point or we won't. But as price is currently, this does signal a swing point for me between the Dow Jones. Yes. If the Dow, however, does close above that specific open, then I don't think, or I won't be looking at it as a common swing point. So see what price does. Hopefully we can get a setup now. Alright, so we've got a couple of seconds left. That does qualify as a swing point. So I've marked it up there on the charts with the S&P 500, middle of the screen. Then on the right, you'll see the Dow Jones. We have a similar swing point. I'd like to see one of our indices rag this, the other fail. And then ideally we will get a change in state of delivery across those two pairs where we can go short. But we need to see all of this happen within the next 20 minutes. I'm not interested in price action after 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So completely dependent on what happens within these next 20 minutes will depend on whether or not we take a trade for this specific session. So stay tuned and I'll keep you guys updated. Cool. What I am interested in doing now is seeing what the rest of the news looks like from a fundamentals perspective. So I'm going to do myself a favor, put a price alarm here at that specific swing high. If we do return to it, we'll get a notification and we will jump straight back into the chart. If however we miss that, well, we won't miss the price alert, is what I'm trying to say, but Our attention is more so going to be looking at tomorrow's news events. We have non-farmer payroll, which happens about once every month. It's the first Friday of the month, so tomorrow is the 5th of June, Friday. And we have high impact news events coming in at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Now these news are non-farm payroll. I'm not so much concerned with the news itself, other than that we have news and that it's high impact. I will only be participating in the marketplace at about 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. And this news, though it says 2:30, we just -6 by that to get the Eastern Standard Time. That is my local time. I am 6 hours. So 14:30 -6 is 08:30. So 8:30 we will see that high impact news event. Now next Tuesday we will also have two different types of high impact news events, which will come in at 8:15 in the morning as well as 10 a.m. So stay tuned for that. I am very interested in the 10 a.m. news because that is obviously between 9:30 and 12, and in those hours that pretty much highlights my specific New York AM session when I am interested in participating. Then Tuesday next week, the 10th, we have quite a lot of news coming out at 8:30 a.m. We'll have jobless claims next week Thursday once more, just like we've seen today at 8:30. And then on Friday we will have a high impact news event at 10 a.m. So next week we do look pretty good from a fundamentals perspective. Now these news events essentially act as a volatility injection. It's the perfect excuse for the market to essentially move heavily in one specific direction. And we obviously want that. We want the markets to be volatile. We want the markets to be moving. We cannot really trade in a market that is in somewhat of a range or a cumulative state. We need to wait for some form of manipulation followed by expansion. And we actually want to position ourselves in that manipulation phase so that we are ready and we are in the market in time for the expansion phase, which is essentially the move, the impulse move that's going to push us towards our specific draw on liquidity in form of buy side liquidity or sell side liquidity. So we have just under 15 minutes remaining of this AM session. Fingers crossed we can see a raid in this common swing point followed by a change in state of delivery. If, however, we do not get that within the next 14 or so minutes, we'll just have to stay on our hands. We'll need to be patient, wait for tomorrow's session, and fingers crossed we'll be able to get a good setup, high probability setup during that specific time interval. So, guys, stay tuned, stay patient. I will keep you lot informed, and let's see exactly what price does within these next opening or closing minutes. Cool. Alright, so we are seeing a push up on the S&P as well as the Dow. Fingers crossed that during these next 8 or so minutes, I really doubt we're going to get it, but I am pretty I am focused on the swing point. I do want to see it raided within these next coming minutes, and I would ideally see a fail raid on one of our pairs. Now, that would be the first probable scenario of a SMT for us in order to take part in that specific trade. But like I said, we only have about 7 minutes left now of this specific session. Ideally, I would see this earlier on, and the reason I look to essentially end at 12 is because the volatility in the market drops off significantly. The best times to be trading are at 9:30 to about even 11:30. The last half an hour usually doesn't produce too big a move, but quite literally anything can happen. So we're just going to stay tuned, we're going to stay patient, and we're going to see exactly what price does. Cool. We just got a comment from Steve Nienaber. He says, well done for getting this done. Looking forward to seeing the results of progress. Steve, I want to thank you for your message. Really do appreciate it. Chaps, all support is welcomed. Any feedback is appreciated. Whether you liked it, whether you didn't, comment down below what you'd like for me to change, what you'd like for me to touch up on. And I'll do my absolute best to give you guys the most value we can during these specific live streams. And we'll take it from there. But for right now, guys, we're just sitting on our hands. We are coming to an end to this specific AM session. We have not gotten any trades for today's session. It's a bit unfortunate. We've taken trades on Monday. We have not taken trades on Tuesday, Wednesday, or it looks like today. Now, we will still have Friday's session in order to make the most of our specific trading window. But once again, if we do not get a setup, it is unfortunate. That is trading. We will not be taking trades every single day. But more often than not, the week will bear somewhat fruit for us to essentially exploit and to do the best of what we can with it. But for now, guys, let's stay patient. We have 5 minutes left of this session. I think I'm going to wrap it up here. And the reason I say that, there is nothing significant that can happen within the next 5 minutes in order for me to essentially take a short. And I'm only looking to take shorts because we have seen a raid in buy-side liquidity in form of current day high on the S&P in the middle of your chart. We've also seen a raid in that buy-side liquidity on the Dow Jones, which is on the right of your screens. Now, with the Nasdaq 100, we have seen a raid in that sell-side liquidity, and it did give us a very good possible scenario of going long. But the only reason I'm not comfortable with going long is because of the buy-side raid found on the Nasdaq, on the S&P 500, as well as the Dow Jones Industrial Index. So, with that said, guys, that pretty much wraps up today's session. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day. We've had one more comment come through. This one is from an amazing woman called Heidi. She says, video and sound are much better than yesterday. Well done. Guys, that's what I want to hear. I just want to hear feedback by any means, whether it's positive, whether it's negative. I'm going to do my absolute best to look at it from a positive perspective. And I'm going to do what I can in order to improve. Now, I understand the previous 3 streams have not been the best with the audio, with the webcam, or the actual streaming platform itself. I did a bit of a deep dive yesterday to see exactly what my optics were and what the optimal settings were for these specific streams. I managed to make a couple tweaks here and there. And from the sounds of it, you guys like what you see. So, like I said, that pretty much wraps it up for today. I'm going to see what I can do in tomorrow's live stream to do a little bit better, make it perhaps even a bit more entertaining. And if there's not something I can perhaps improve from a back-end perspective. But I thank you guys for your time. I truly hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day. Enjoy the rest of your session. Send my regards to your friends, your families, your loved ones. Even though they don't know me, I know you. And I love you all. Take care. And until next time.